10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Pinche Gringo show. It's so good to be back with you tonight. I mean, I really do wish our show this evening could be about happy things, about music, culture, food, puppies, whatever. But this is 2020. We were off for just 1 week to celebrate Mexico's independence. And since then, a lot of shit has happened, including the U.S. National Weather Service running out of hurricane names a month and a half prior to the end of the season, using Greek alphabet, or if you're American, fraternity and sorority names as storm names. Oh my God, that Hurricane Delta Gamma is a real bitch. Mysterious bug infestations. California is burning. Our president selling raffle tickets for a private plane, and a second wave of coronavirus cases that is severely affecting Europe, the US, and even Canada. Now, please leave Canada alone, Mr. COVID. Like, there's only 30 people living there. It's a really cold 9 months out of the year, and their national symbol is a leaf. Pick on someone your own size, COVID. I'm not sure we can handle anything else right now, but to comment on this, our 2020 craziness, we go live to, and I don't know how our producers secured this, but we have now live on the show a Mayan scientist from the year 3114 BC. Mayan scientist, thank you so much for joining us tonight on the show. I mean, wow, how did you get here with us tonight when you were born in the 3000s BC? I don't get it.
Thanks for having me, Dan. I know we are known for our calendars, but what people don't know is that we invented time travel too. We don't like to talk about it too much, but if you walk around in Zócalo and you see people dressed up, those are us.
Wait, time travel? That's unbelievable, man.
You better believe it, Pinche Gringo.
Okay. So my producers are telling me that you were the one who predicted the end of the world in 2012, but it's 2020 and we're still here. It looks like you were wrong.
Dan, I wasn't wrong. Mayans are never wrong. I'm dyslexic since I was born. I meant to write 2021 instead of 2012. And we didn't invent erasers back then, so there was no way that I can fix it.
Wait. So what you're telling me is that the end of the world is next year?
Dan, aren't you seeing what's going on around? Greece just had a hurricane last week. They called it Medicane. You got wildfires, dust storms. It's flooding in Bangladesh. I mean, and that's just the natural stuff.
So wait. Okay. So the end of the world's coming down. All right. So what do we do now? And what do you recommend for us here for next year?
As you know, we have pyramids all over the place. They all have secret doors, but don't tell this to anyone, okay? We did them with
emergency shelters. All right. Bueno. Thank you so much, Mayan scientist. Thanks so much for being with us tonight. 2021 is the real thing. Well, I'm moving on to our top story tonight. The United States is in mourning after it lost a cult hero, a champion for the rights of women and minorities, and one of the most liberal members of the Supreme Court, Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. She died on Friday night at the age of 87 and has been celebrated by both Republicans and Democrats for her intelligence and the ability to work across ideological lines to find common ground. She became a cultural icon known as the notorious RBG, or I always mistakenly have called her RGB, which I think would make an excellent Supreme Court justice. I mean, those beautiful, vibrant colors make a good judge, just saying. But people had made documentaries, blogs, and books about her. You could even buy merchandise. I'm sorry, Justices Gorsuch and Alito, you're just not cool enough for Ruth Bader Ginsburg. She battled cancer twice, kept a rigorous workout so she would survive through President Trump's term. It seems like, and she made comments for that in 2016, that she probably did not want the president to replace her, and her dying wish was that the next president, whoever it would be, to fill her seat. But as a result, there is now a vacancy on the United States Supreme Court, and only hours after Ginsburg's death, Senate Majority Leader Republican Mitch McConnell announced that they would fill the vacancy during the final days of President Trump's term. So for the many of you who are watching the show and are not familiar with the US Supreme Court and how it works, let me give you a brief rundown. There are 9 justices and each gets nominated by the president and confirmed by the Senate. They have a lifetime appointment, and the framers of the Constitution did this so they would not be bent by partisan politics. Now, they're not technically part of a political party, but justices swing either to the conservative or the liberal side. So the court was until last Friday 5 conservatives to 4 liberals, with one of the conservatives drifting over to the liberal side from time to time to protect things like Obamacare and rights for gays to marry. Now, constitutionally, the Senate has until the first days of January to move on this, and because the Senate is controlled by Republicans, it is expected that a conservative jurist will be nominated and confirmed, bringing the tilt of the court to 6-3, which means that abortion could be banned, rights for minorities can be curtailed, and the role of religion in society can be strengthened. This affects us in Mexico because there are a number of cases concerning the rights of immigrants and their status. With an estimated 11 million undocumented workers living in the United States, this could have a dramatic effect on their lives and our economy in Mexico because many rely on money sent from family members living in the United States. So if you're saying, okay, well, she died during a Trump presidency and it's his right, yes, that makes sense. But there's some hypocrisy in this. In 2016, after the death of another Supreme Court justice, with just 10 months to go until the election, President Obama nominated Merrick Garland to take a seat in the highest court, and his nomination did not even get a vote. The leader of the Senate said this.
That no Supreme Court vacancy created during a presidential election year should be filled because the American people are in the process of speaking. The elections are going on all over the country. The next president will be making this choice. The people will decide who should be the appointing authority. So no, he will not be considered by the Senate.
Okay, first, yes, we know this. He does look like the famous cartoon character, Droopy Dog. We get that, we know. But now he's saying something completely different today.
President Trump's nominee for this vacancy will receive a vote on the floor of the Senate.
So there were hopes that a few Republican senators would defect and say, hey, you know, we said this in 2016, and now we have to say the same thing. So let the people vote, and for the president, whoever it is in January, to decide. So 2 had defected, but they need 4 to defect. And it looks like that will not happen. And Trump will most likely have his 3rd pick confirmed before Election Day, November 3rd. Republicans and conservatives alike are very excited about this. They will be able to remake the judiciary for years to come and use this branch of government to protect their agenda. And this is not just happening in the US, but also somewhat in Mexico as well, right? Now, in Mexico, there are 11 members of the judiciary, but they serve for 15 years, not for life. And the current makeup of the court is 6 who are confirmed by the opposition party, the PAN, in their 12 years of rule, 2 from the last president, Enrique Peña Nieto, and 3 by the current president in his short, almost 2 years in office, with another retirement coming in 2021. The president has the opportunity to reshape the court with his allies who support his agenda. So for more comments on this and the U.S. Supreme Court vacancy, we are now joined by Dr. Imer Flores, professor at the Universidad Nacional Autónoma de Mexico, UNAM. You are a Puma, Imer? Are you a Puma all the way?
Yes, Dan. Nice seeing you.
Yeah, you too. Thank you. So I want to first ask you, let's get to this right away. It seems that Mexico and the United States have very similar things happening with them right now, where the president is really focusing on making sure that there are people in the judiciary that have the same viewpoints as they do. Tell us more about this and the similarities between the 2 presidents.
Let me just point something that you already said on the fact that 4 years ago, Mitch McConnell said that it was not good that in an election year, a president coming out nominated someone for the seat because of the lifetime appointment. So now I think it's true that they are not following the same president. I think they have to follow the same president, at least not make a decision until after election day. So far, I have heard many friends in the U.S. saying that the vote, the decision on the Supreme Court nomination should be after the election day. So then the people will say if they want to let the Republicans to reshape the judiciary or not. And the option for the Democratic Party will be, if they win and there's still the nomination, then the option will be to do a sort of court packing, a reform for the court to get an extra number of justices, so then they can make the numbers again.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, and this is something McConnell has wanted for a long time. The Republicans have wanted, because they have a lot of social issues that have been ruled against them for many years, and now they have this opportunity. So it seems like that they just want to win, right? Like, it doesn't matter president or what they said, they have the opportunity to make a Supreme Court pick. Now, tell me about this. This is something that is also sort of happening here in Mexico with AMLO. Can you talk more about this?
Yes, and let me just point that I think it's all politics in that sense, in a very strong sense. They are both trying to secure their legacy by appointing justices which are very close to their own agendas. And let me just point that today we had a draft on a project on the consulta for persecuting the former presidents, which is already suggested that it will be unconstitutional. So I already have the feeling that the president, AMLO, Andres Manuel, will use it in his advantage, saying, I wanted to persecute them, but then the court didn't allow me. And the court had nominated 8 justices from the other parties, and I only have 3. So, and I think it's playing the politics and the politics game, and we have elections here in Mexico as well next year. So I think in that sense, the two systems are having the same problem, that the election years are currently in the US this year, and ours is coming next year. And these battles over who takes control of the judiciary, or who gets more people of their own ideology into the judiciary, is very relevant to them. So right. I think that's we have to keep an eye on this discussion, certainly.
Absolutely. Now another thing, Trump has been saying this week that he wants to make sure that he has enough judges in the judiciary before the end of the election, because the election might get to the U.S. Supreme Court, and he wants to make sure that anything gets voted in his favor. Now, we know here in Mexico also that AMLO has complete control of the legislative and the executive branch, that Morena Party is dominating, and even in many states. How is AMLO working with the judiciary, and is the judiciary able to stop his agenda? Because, as you mentioned, 8 appointees are from the other political parties.
So my take is that in taking the example of the referendum, on persecuting the former presidents, the justices have, at least in the project, in the draft, they are stopping him. So that, in some sense, is good news. But then let me insist that I take this as politics as usual. And I take that he's making this politics game. And I think Trump is doing exactly the same. And in that sense, I also follow Trump's discussion on who he will nominate. Oh, I should nominate a man, or I should nominate a woman. Oh, definitely a woman. And so I'm giving the people whatever the people want. Well, an extra, also in political sense, I need to get someone who gives me some edge on the election. So I have to get a nomination for a woman, and probably from some of the minorities. What about a female, Afro-American female nominated to the Supreme Court, or I don't know, or from any other minority, which right. will get them some votes. So I think it's going to be very into party lines, and I see the point on him thinking that it might go into a close battle, into a close election day, and then the judicial will be kind of complicated.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting, and I know that there's talk about a Cuban-American woman. There is another Latina on the Supreme Court, Sonia Sotomayor, but there's a talk that a Cuban-American from Florida might be nominated as well. So this is going to be really interesting. Imer Flores, thank you so much for joining us. Imer Flores, a professor of law at the UNAM. Thank you very much. So interestingly enough, Trump had put out his potential list of nominees earlier last month. And on that very short list was no other than U.S. Ambassador to Mexico, Christopher Landau. Do you remember that guy with the amazing ambassador jacket? Hashtag ambassador jacket, hashtag will this ever be a thing? The ambassador is a Harvard-educated legal scholar who argued 9 cases in front of the Supreme Court, which makes him highly qualified for this seat, although he had never been a judge, and recently only judges have been elevated to the Supreme Court. But over the weekend, Trump announced his intention to nominate a woman to the seat, as we just mentioned in the interview, essentially ending the ambassador's chances of being appointed. But wouldn't it have been interesting to have the ambassador to Mexico nominated for the Supreme Court? But moving on to our next story, in a few days, the U.S. will be glued to their televisions, watching one of the most highly anticipated debates in modern history. Yes, the debate is whether to watch Cobra Kai, the lauded sequel to The Karate Kid, or The Smurfs, those shirtless miniature blue, whatever you want to call them, who live in little mushroom houses. Whether they eat mushrooms or we ate the mushroom, why we see little blue things, we don't know. And by the way, what's with this Gargamel guy? I mean, looks like he needs a girlfriend, not his cat. But the other debate Americans will be watching on Tuesday night will be the first of 4 presidential debates between presidential and vice presidential candidates, starting with Biden versus Trump this Tuesday night. Biden is leading in the polls in many states, and now the race is tight in places like Texas and Georgia, where Trump's lead is smaller than the margin of error. A Democrat hasn't won Texas or Georgia since 1976. Some are talking that it could be a landslide, but others caution that in 2016, Hillary Clinton was in the lead, and very few people expected for Trump to win, including Trump himself. Biden is winning by large margins with Black voters and white educated voters from the suburbs, but is not doing as well as Clinton among Latino voters, who have a huge influence in states like Florida, Texas, and Arizona. Plus, Trump has an energized base of voters in many of these swing states, so the election is still anyone's to lose or win. In a developing story, in the White House briefing yesterday, Trump would not commit to accepting the results of the upcoming election, causing a fury from Democrats and silence for most Republicans. This morning, his press secretary had a chance to correct his comments, deny it, whatever, and she did not. I'm telling you guys, the next 40 days is going to be more interesting than an episode of La Reina Soy Yo. To comment on all this, we have on the show Larry Rubin, Republican of Mexico, Gricha Raether, Chair of Democrats Abroad, Mexico City. Thank you so much for joining us, gentlemen. Larry, we're going to go right with you.
Sure.
First, get started. I cannot believe the president said this. The president is telling us that he may not leave office if it is in the other person's favor, if Joe Biden wins. And we have not had any problems with transfer of power since the 1700s. Every single 4 years, we've had a peaceful transfer of power. What do you think about this as a Republican?
Sure. Well, first off, I think that anyone in an election like Al Gore had in 2000 has the right to be sure that the results are legal, are right. And that happened exactly with Al Gore and George Bush. You could remember the close to 40 days that the country was on hold to hear who was going to be the president of the United States. So basically, I mean, President Trump is a Democrat, and a Democrat in the sense of he's democratic and how he thinks. And definitely, I do think that since he's going to win the election, this will be a moot point.
First of all, you can't call the president a Democrat. I mean, I understand what you're saying, but I mean, isn't it a president's job to give people confidence in our democratic institutions? Isn't it a president's job to make sure that people feel confident about this election? Because isn't he stirring the pot that if he loses, there might be incredible violence and maybe, as I said in many shows in the past, a possible civil war? Gricha, how do you feel about this?
Oh, I feel very nervous about this. I mean, look, we have a president saying that he's not going to accept the result of the election peacefully. We have a bunch of masked guys all over southern states like Kentucky threatening people who are not, in line with the Trump's vision of the world, where white supremacy and religious nonsense is suddenly what rules one of the world's oldest democracies and most successful democracies, I'm very nervous. I don't think this is going to be a peaceful transition. I don't think no matter what happens, we don't have institutions anymore. Trump has pretty much trampled all over them. And I don't think nothing is a moot point. And whether he loses or wins in this election, the fact that he says, I'm only going to accept free and fair elections, whatever fair means in Trump's head. And I mean, Larry, come on. If you are actually saying that you think you understand what Trump is thinking when he says fair, it's really not based on facts. It's whatever he feels or he thinks at that particular moment is actually happening in the world. And sorry, but I'm very nervous about what's going to happen in November 3rd. And
no, I understand. And I've been here almost 11 years. You guys have been here for a very long time. When we start talking about that Mexico may have stronger democratic institutions than the United States, I've never thought I would ever say that, right? And this is really scary. Larry, are you nervous about the election? It seems like Trump in polling is losing in many places. And we know in 2016, Clinton was leading and nobody thought that Trump was going to win. But the Republicans must be really scared right now, especially in so many Senate races all over the country. Republicans are losing in places that we never thought they were going to even be competitive.
So, at the end of the day, we know how polling went in 2016. So it's not an accurate science, and I really think that President Trump not only will win the electoral vote, but will win the popular vote, and that will definitely end all types of rumors and hypotheses about what will happen if something different would the election look like. So I'm not nervous at all. I really think that we'll see November 3rd, but President Trump, and you've seen the numbers. I mean, Biden has in these polls has been losing ground for the last few months. So after the debates, and I'm certain that after the debates, it will be clear to everyone really where President Trump and Biden stands, and I'm sure that President Trump will do very well in the debates, much better than Biden.
You think that? I mean, Trump was playing an expectations game for a while, and the strategy seemed to be that they were going to prop Biden as being a professional debater because they wanted to lower expectations for Trump because this is not Trump's thing. But then Trump was going against it by saying that Biden is losing it, that he needs medication, prescriptions. I mean, Gricha, are you concerned about Biden's performance? Do you think this is going to be an equal matchup? Like, what's your thought on the debate?
No, it's not going to be an equal matchup because Biden actually makes sense and he doesn't make up things as he goes along. The problem with Trump is he makes up stories. He makes up his own facts. You can have your own opinion, but you can't have your own facts. And the one thing that Trump does really well is as he goes along, he makes up facts. He makes up numbers. He makes up his own reality in his pink bubble where he lives, and he conveys that as if it were a fact. Of course, his followers believe it because whatever he says, they just go with it. But we have numbers, we have the internet, we have Google, and we can check and fact check everything he says. And historically, every time he makes a speech, we can check, and over 65% of the things that he says are proven to be nothing but lies and he makes up in his own mind.
Absolutely. So let's talk about a lot of talk about this Latino vote, and we're going to do a lot more about this in next week's show. That Trump is winning the Latino vote because they're becoming more conservative and religious. How is that going to play out? And another talk that has been happening is Trump good for Mexico or is Biden better? And Kenneth Smith wrote an op-ed this week talking about how some people think that Trump is better because the relationship has, quote, been good. But that's just a farce, that Mexico has been doing exactly what Trump wants. Larry, what is your feeling about this? I'm sure you're in this camp to think that a Trump presidency would be better for Mexico.
Well, it's not actually, Dan, it's not that I think. I mean, there's facts. With Joe Biden and Barack Obama, we know they did most deportations from the states than any other U.S. president in history, and that's a fact. The fact that USMCA is today taken effect as of July 1st, which is a wonderful agreement, and nobody in their in their complete faculty would think that USMCA is not good for Mexico, not good for the states in Canada, and the immigration agreement is very good for Mexico. Actually, if you notice the numbers of immigrants crossing illegally into Mexico, which was a huge issue with crossings from January through May of about last year, about 500,000 illegal immigrants crossing the border, Guatemala, Mexico, and let alone the border from Mexico to the States. The immigration agreement that Mexico and the U.S. signed is also very important because it actually has lowered the numbers of illegal crossings in the States and in Mexico. So these are facts. These are not my opinion. This is simple, very objective facts. So definitely, I think the relationship is strong, and we've heard President López Obrador say it, and not only say it, but I think one of the reasons that it's strong is because in terms of bilateral trade, Mexico is finally the first commercial partner of the U.S. in history, right? I mean, it used to be Canada, it used to be China, and Mexico number 3, and today Mexico is the largest trading partner for the United States. So those are examples, and not based on my own opinion.
Gricha, please, do you have a reaction to that?
You know what? Again, everybody can have their own reality if they want, but the reality is that the Republican-controlled Senate has been trying to pass something called the RAISE Act. Forget about illegal immigration. They're trying to stop and curtail legal immigration, which the U.S. needs, by 50% through this RAISE Act. So not only are they against illegal immigration and for separating families and kids from their families, but they're also against legal immigration, trying to curtail all these visas of people and knowledge and experience and talent that we need in the U.S. And that just shows how much against immigration the Republican Party and the Trumpist Party actually are.
Okay, we got a couple of minutes left, actually 30 seconds left. I want to ask you this broad question, both of you. Who does Trump win by a lot, a little, tie, or the other way around? What's your reaction, Gricha?
It doesn't matter about how much he wins or loses. The fact is they're not going to give up. They're probably going to say something along the lines of, there was a lot of fraud. There was a lot of illegal voting. They're not going to accept the result if Trump loses. The only way they accept the result is if he wins. And unfortunately, he has a lot of people on the streets with long guns ready to shoot at the Democrats and at the minorities, and they will probably use them as soon as they can just to make sure that Mr. Trump ends up in the White House.
Larry, you got the last word.
Sure. No, I think it's President Trump is going to win not only the electoral vote, but the popular vote. And this notion that Democrats tried to really instill fear in the election process is all wrong. And I think that's what's been happening in many of the Democratic states, by the way, like Kentucky and Minnesota. So at the end of the day, I do see a Trump presidency for 2021 and without any type of fear because of the results.
But you did not vote for Trump. You made it publicly noted that you did not vote for Trump in 2016, but you are now going to vote for Trump in 2020. Is that correct?
That is correct. I didn't vote for him in the last election, but when I saw what he's done for Americans and for the U.S.-Mexico relationship, I'm completely satisfied that that's the way to go. And not only for these two countries, but what he's trying to do in Venezuela, what he did in Israel. I mean, those are very, very important facts for me. So I think he's going to be a great future president as well.
Okay, and Gricha, I'm sure you're not voting for Trump, right?
No, I'm not. I will vote for anybody but Trump. And again, this problem, and I've said this many times, Larry, you know my main issue is not with Republicans, right? My main issue is with Trump and Trumpists. I think that we had a very cordial relationship up till now, but when we have somebody as crazy as Trump, somebody who is as derailed as he is, at the cusp of destroying what the United States stand for, I'm sure that many, many Republicans, 500 ex-members of intelligence services saying that they have their vote for Biden show that they're afraid of somebody like Trump being there 4 more years. And that's what I'm afraid of. And no, I'm not.
Larry, Rubin, Gricha Raether, thank you guys so much. I know you're on TV a lot here in Mexico and debating each other. It's really great that we have people living in Mexico, Americans living in Mexico, and giving this great debate. And hopefully you guys will be on the show before Election Day. Good luck to both of you. Thanks for joining us.
Larry,
Gricha, take care. Have a great day.
you too.
All right. Whew. We go now to the never lying, always loving Lila Garcia Mora. Beautiful guy, Lila. How are you today? Commercial director of Pinche Gringo Barbecue and Gringo Show correspondent to tell us about Lila. I don't even know. If COVID is enough, and then we've got this election coming up, and then it's making me in climate change. I don't know. I'm not going to be able to watch the debates by myself on Tuesday night. I'm going to have people around me. So tell me how I can do that, Lila.
I know that was intense. That last conversation was heated, and I'm guessing the debate's going to be like that. So I know you can't do it on your own. So we have a support group for you.
Okay, I hope so.
Sanitize hands while we go through this and expect for the best result on this first debate.
Okay. So what are we doing? We're going to Pinche Gringo Barbecue on Tuesday, right?
We're going to Pinche Gringo Barbecue to the warehouse location. We're having a socially distanced watching debate party. You can register in the link that is here or through our WhatsApp. And the thing is, if you register, we know how much people are coming, so we can prepare better to make sure that the sanitary conditions are the best for you guys.
Okay, so the socially distanced, people can sit in their own tables. You have all the things, and the government says it's okay, no?
Yes, the government agrees totally. We are respecting all the government implementations for this and all their suggestions. And we are going to have like small tables, so you can go with a small group of friends, like with 4 friends. You can sit together. You don't have to share tables with others. And you can eat that delicious thing that you have in your hands. Last week, we have our delicious beef ribs. If you don't go this week, you have to wait until next September to have them again. So you have to eat them this week. And then you can use the bone as a tool, either to make your magic calendar or to use it as a cane. Or if you don't agree with the debate, you can use it to prove your point.
I don't know, Lila. I'm going to use it to like bang myself in the head. 40 days left. 40 days left. Lila Garcia Mora, commercial director and a wonderful Pinche Gringo Show correspondent. We always love having you on the show. Thank you so much, Lila. Thank you for joining us on the edition of Pinche Gringo Show. Please join us next week, October 3rd, with continued special election coverage as we get closer to November 3rd. We end our broadcast tonight on a very sad note. For the 15 shows that we have produced, the lights, the set, anything that was needed, our friend Eddie Emiliano was responsible for it. We lost Eddie after a tragic accident took his life last week, and we lost him way too soon. He was only 27 years old. He was full of life, always smiled, and worked hard to make sure the show looked wonderful. This is a very sad day for the Pinche Gringo Show. We will truly miss you, Eddie, and as a tribute, we will turn off the lights for you one last time. Thanks for joining us.